Welcome to the deep dive. So, if you've been anywhere near a news feed, you've probably heard all the buzz, right? These new tools for weight management, particularly semaglutide.
Definitely. There's this idea floating around.
Yeah, like they're magic pills or something, a simple fix, almost like a cheat code.
Exactly. But what if the real breakthrough isn't actually the medication itself?
What if it's something else?
What if it's a totally different way of thinking about the whole journey? That's really what we're digging into today.
Okay.
We're looking at the approach of Dan Hollis. It's unconventional, definitely, but really human.
Right. And it challenges those easy assumptions, doesn't it, about it just being a pill?
It absolutely does. It pulls you away from just the physical stuff and deep into the psychology, the emotions behind it all. Personal transformation.
So to really unpack this, we've got the Dan Hollis Semaglutide Manifesto, and also a couple of really powerful testimonials.
Yeah. What Dan Hollis taught me about weight loss, and another one on setbacks specifically. What Dan Hollis taught me weight loss setbacks.
Our mission here is to sort of break down the core ideas of Hollis's philosophy, figure out what makes his approach so different.
And hopefully give you some real aha
Hmm.
moments about managing change in your own life. Because honestly, this goes way beyond just weight.
Okay, so let's dive in where Hollis starts. He talks about this foundational shift.
Mhm.
His big argument is that taking semaglutide, which, okay, it's a GLP-1 agonist, helps with appetite. Feeling full,
Right, the basics.
it's not just taking a drug, it's a human journey.
Yes. A powerful tool, he says. Definitely powerful, but absolutely not a magic fix.
And what's really interesting is how he describes what it actually does.
Yeah, this is key. He explained it fundamentally changes how your brain is processing things like hunger and satisfaction, even reward.
So it's not just, I feel less hungry.
Not just that, it's like quieting the chatter, the food noise in your head. It lets the brain kind of relearn its natural signals for being full.
Okay.
And crucially, it frees up all this mental energy that was just consumed by thinking about food, managing hunger.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's the game changer he points to. Your mind is suddenly available for other things like self-actualization, not just battling cravings.
But he also says it can be liberating, yet also terrifying
Yeah.
without support.
Yeah, because that quiet can be jarring if you're not prepared for what comes up in the silence.
And he tackles something really central to how we've thought about weight loss for ages. This idea that willpower was never the problem.
Hmm.
Now that sounds, maybe a bit radical, like letting people off the hook. How does he justify that?
Well, he makes a pretty compelling case, I think. He basically says, look, if you've struggled with weight, you've probably thrown tons of willpower at it.
Oh, yeah.
But it doesn't stick long term, he argues, because your biology, those deep emotional habits, these ingrained loops, they're often just stacked against you.
Well, it's not about being weak.
Not at all. He really believes what works is insight, understanding yourself, plus structure and tools that actually work with your biology instead of just fighting it constantly.
One of the testimonials really drove this home with a quote, "Semaglutide isn't cheating, it's adaptation. The real cheat is pretending willpower was enough."
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful stuff.
What does that mean for someone listening for how they see themselves?
I think it's huge. It's permission to reframe everything. It kind of lifts the shame.
Mm.
The idea that you weren't failing because you lacked character or grit, but maybe because you were using the wrong strategy, fighting a battle without the right tools, or understanding your own internal landscape.
So it's like release the self-blame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And embrace something that actually supports how your body and mind work.
Okay, so going deeper, Hollis puts a lot of emphasis on the emotional side of things,
Absolutely.
pointing out that we don't just eat because we're hungry. There's a whole host of other reasons.
That's right. He talks about eating because of anxiety or loneliness, maybe boredom,
Mm.
even being overstimulated, or just feeling like you don't have enough support.
And the medication helps with the biological hunger.
Right, it quiets that signal down.
Yeah.
But those underlying emotional gaps, they often stick around.
Mm.
And he really stresses that if you don't get emotional support to deal with those triggers, relapse becomes much more likely once the medication isn't the main thing driving the process.
Which leads to this really interesting idea he has, listening to the silence.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when food, which was maybe comfort or just noise, suddenly goes quiet?
Well, Hollis puts it starkly. The real work begins when the cravings stop. That's when the truth shows up.
The truth. Wow.
Yeah. That silence isn't just empty space. It's where all the stuff you might have been avoiding or numbing with food tends to surface.
Like the anxiety, the loneliness you mentioned.
Exactly. The stuff food used to mask. And that's where he says the real journey of emotional work, of self-discovery, actually starts.
And it's not just about stopping things, it's about starting things too, right? He talks about rewriting your identity, rebuilding connection.
Precisely. He says weight loss isn't really about hitting a number on the scale. It's about building a life where food isn't your only coping tool.
That's a big shift.
It is. And he has this great line, you didn't lose control, you lost connection.
Connection. To what?
To your own hunger cues, maybe to your sense of purpose, ultimately, to yourself. And that connection, he says, that's what we help you rebuild.
Finding new ways to cope, basically. Healthier ways.
Finding healthier ways and reconnecting with those internal signals so you're not just relying on food for comfort or reward or even just, filling time.
This connects to habit replacement then, and
Correct.
alignment. It's not just stop this habit.
Well, you have to replace it.
Yeah.
Every pound lost, he says, means a habit needs to be replaced, not just erased.
And he makes this distinction. You don't hold on to weight loss with discipline. You hold on to it with alignment. What does that mean practically?
Well, the biology boost from the medication, that gives you a head start, right? A big one.
Okay.
But for it to last, those new behaviors, the healthy choices, they need to become part of who you are, your identity.
Alignment. So like everything fitting together.
Exactly. Your actions, your choices, how you think about yourself, it all needs to line up with your goals. It's about building new routines, new ways of being, so the healthy stuff feels, well, natural,
Yeah.
effortless, not like a constant exhausting fight.
Becoming the person who just does those things.
Yes, that's the alignment piece.
So if it's about this deep rebuilding, what about life after the medication? Hollis is really clear, semaglutide is not forever.
Yeah, this is so, so important in his approach. He hammers this home. The real work begins after the medication. Meaning, if you stop taking it and you haven't done that deeper identity work, haven't built those new aligned habits, well, the old patterns, the old appetite signals, the emotional triggers, they can come roaring back.
So the program is designed with that endpoint in mind.
From day one, building the internal framework, the habits, the self-understanding that can sustain you long after the injections stop. Preparing for that transition is key.
And he also warns about the fast weight loss trap, losing weight too quickly. Why is that a problem?
Because fast weight loss without what he calls metabolic pacing, it can backfire.
Metabolic pacing, what's that exactly?
It's basically being strategic about your calories and activity levels to keep your metabolism humming along and, crucially, to avoid losing too much muscle mass while you lose fat. Because if you lose weight too fast, crash diet style, you risk slowing down your metabolism significantly, losing muscle. And that actually makes long-term weight maintenance harder.
So the pacing is about sustainability.
Exactly. Timing nutrition, habits, progress. Making sure your body can actually handle and sustain the changes. Like that testimonial said, fast results don't mean lasting results. Pacing is protection.
Protection, I like that. Building a stable foundation.
Precisely.
Okay, let's talk setbacks. Because they happen, right, in any big change.
No, inevitably.
And Hollis seems to have a really, compassionate view, starting with, there is no shame here, only process.
Yeah, that alone is huge for so many people. It lifts such a burden.
What's the core belief behind that?
He just fundamentally doesn't see people as broken or lazy or undisciplined.
Mm-hmm.
He sees them as working against, often, a really complex biology they were never taught about, and living in a culture that, frankly, profits from keeping them confused about weight and food.
Yeah.
So setbacks, they're just part of the process. Predictable even, not failures.
And he reframes relapse itself. He says, most people don't relapse into hunger. They relapse into confusion. That's a really interesting way to put it.
Isn't it? It shifts the focus entirely.
So what does that mean, relapsing into confusion?
It means it's usually not about a sudden, uncontrollable physical hunger taking over. It's more often a moment where you're faced with an old trigger or a new stressful situation, or maybe just the absence of that old coping mechanism, food.
And you just don't know what else to do.
Exactly. You're confused about how to respond now. It's your body and brain trying to figure things out, maybe reverting to an old known path for a moment.
Yeah.
It's a signal, he says, not a weakness. A sign you're human and adapting.
He uses that analogy, too, of the spiral staircase, not a straight line.
Yeah, I love that one.
For someone feeling like they're just going in circles, hitting the same walls, what's the message there?
The message is, even if it feels like you're repeating a pattern, look closer. Each time you circle around on that staircase, you're actually higher up than before.
Ah, so you're still climbing.
You're still climbing. You've got new insights, maybe new tools, new experiences under your belt. You're not starting from scratch at the bottom. You're just navigating the curves, gaining a better view each time, learning.
And when those old cravings do pop up, the emotional eating urge, he calls it memory, not weakness.
Right, which is another huge reframe.
What's the difference? Why does that distinction matter so much?
Because weakness implies a character flaw. Memory implies a biological process. It's just a neural pathway when your brain remembers, lighting up and basically asking, hey, is this still relevant? Do we still do this?
Like an old computer program running.
Kind of. And the opportunity isn't to beat yourself up for the memory firing, but to recognize it as just that, a memory, and consciously choose a different response now. It puts the power back in your hands.
So if setbacks happen, it might mean the story you're telling yourself needs an update.
That's often a big part of it, yes.
How does Hollis teach people to use that space, maybe the space semaglutide helps create, to tell a different story about a setback?
He encourages approaching it with curiosity, not judgment. So instead of the automatic, ooh, I failed again, it becomes a series of questions. Like, okay, what am I actually feeling right now? What do I genuinely need in this moment? And who do I want to become through navigating this?
Turning it into a learning opportunity.
Exactly. It reframes the struggle into a chance for deeper self-awareness, for conscious choice. It's about learning from it, not just feeling defeated by it.
Which brings us to the overall support system he builds. It's about conversation, community. He says, this is a conversation, not a prescription.
Yeah, that really sums up the relational aspect. It's not just transactional, like, here's your pill, follow these rules.
It's about the relationship.
It's about your relationship with food, sure, but also with your own body, and really importantly, with the people guiding you through it.
Having a guide, a map.
And a community. People who actually get the complexities. That feeling of being understood and supported and not judged is incredibly powerful. It fosters trust.
And it all circles back to this idea of starting right instead of feeling like you're just starting over again.
Yes, that captures the whole philosophy, really.
What does starting right mean in this context?
It means starting with tools like the medication, yes, but also the mental frameworks, the habit strategies that are genuinely aligned with how your body and brain work.
Not fighting against yourself.
Exactly. And starting with people beside you who see you, the whole person, not just a number on a scale. Starting from a place of alignment and understanding, not shame. That builds a foundation for real, lasting change instead of just repeating old cycles.
Wow. Okay, that was quite a deep dive into Dan Hollis's philosophy. It's clearly so much more than just medication.
Definitely. It's a whole structured process, really grounded in human support, focusing on that deep internal work you need to do to really change your relationship with food, with your body, with yourself.
It really sounds like it's about, I don't know, finally getting the space and the tools to become, well, more fully yourself.
I think that's a great way to put it. And, thinking about all these insights from Hollis, it makes you wonder, what stories might you listening be telling yourself about your own challenges?
Not just about weight, but anything.
Yeah, in any area of your life.
Yeah.
What stories might need updating? And what could change if you started reframing a setback, not as a failure, but purely as a learning moment? How might that shift your path forward?